talking about getting paid for it. I mean, I've just been trying to think. One thing Elon Musk said at some point. Well, he said many things, but and he's a maniac. Okay, Elon Musk is a
Okay,
maniac. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say I admire some parts of it. I would never want to be him. Okay, that guy has no life. But well, there are a few things that he said. One is like the Tesla versus Edison comparison. If you're not familiar, Edison, the guy who supposedly invented the light bulb, but blah blah blah, electricity. Tesla did the what is it, the alternate current, so the one that we use pretty much every day, and Edison was a proponent for the continuous current, and yada yada yada. Edison versus Tesla. But anyway, and so Tesla was a big dude. He was like he invented many things we use today, and Elon Musk was saying like, yeah, he's a big admirer of Tesla, but he's more of an admirer of Edison, because while Tesla, maybe allowed us to have the alternate current or whatever and lamps, but Edison was the guy who knew how to bring it to the people, to market it to, And another thing in relation to this that Elon Musk says is like, look, I am an engineer at my core. I'm paraphrasing here. But what I realize is that in order to do what I want to do as an engineer, is I need to know how to sell myself, how to sell the product. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot. It's like, because look, the truth is there's like a bunch of actors and a bunch of singers and dancers and all of this, and they don't really have much of a leg up on you. Like, honestly, what they do is they have dedicated a lot of time into what they're doing, and that's a fact. But all this like talent, it's kind of relative. Yes, you do have some, you might have what's the word? Not tendency, but what's the word I'm looking for, Sev? Come on. Yeah, that's something like that. Yeah, predisposition or whatever for a certain thing. Like maybe if it's physical athlete, maybe your body's shaped in a certain way that allows you to run faster or whatever, swim farther, something like that.
Yeah.
But generally, it's a lot of what you do and not as who you are. But the luck factor is a big factor, the random genetic factor. So anyway, all this rant about art, so for example. So I may be mistaken here. You who, as an artist, I'd like to get your input here. But it seems to me that art is generally not really valued unless it is kind of it observes economy of scale, which is when Sev makes one painting, and then instead of selling it to one person, you just copy it over multiple of times, say Magic the Gathering cards, and then you sell a bunch of Magic cards, or you just scale up the economy. And the price of your painting is actually cheapened a lot, but it's multiplied to a certain amount combined with another product, and then you can get revenue.
Basically,
but maybe the people who make the cards. Yeah, but the people who paid for your art paid you a certain price, but that's not where the income is from. It's from the actual, multiplication of this product throughout and multiplied by several people, because we have like a huge population or whatever you want to argue. But anyway, so I wonder what you think as in terms of value of art in general, how you perceive it, and what you think about what I just said. Did I put you on the spot? Because I cannot hear you.
Oh. No. I'm thinking because I'm going to use another football comparison. Most football players don't make enough money to pay rent. Most football players don't make money. Like if you think about the whole universe, like the amount of people that play football, even professionally, like they're in like a second, third, fourth division. They play football and they have a second job, and most of them barely make enough money to pay for food at the end of the month. But when you think about football players, you think about that 1% top uber elite that make bajillions. Their net worth is equivalent to some small countries. And that perception makes it seem like that football players are overpaid for doing basically nothing. They have no value to society. And to a certain extent that is true. That is basically just what the public has deemed them worthy. And so what I'm trying to say is it's not that they are talented, but their talent is exponentially overvalued because it is what the audience values them at. because football is this world industry that is very entertaining. People pay money to have the kits, the sponsors, the branding of the player, the social feeds, everything. They just want to follow the player, they want to follow the club, and they are willing to put money on it. And therefore, there's a lot of the sports is very top heavy. And we can say exactly the same thing with art. Art is very top heavy. 99.9% of artists barely make enough money to survive basically on their art, unless they make a lot of it, unless they make a lot of sacrifices for it, or unless they're very, very good at it. So if they're very, very good, even then they need to have this sort of infrastructure, which is in using the analogy, they need to have like some sort of soccer club that they're associated with, or they need to have the patronage of the people so that they can have, so that they have a lot of clients, or they have a lot of like projects that are worldwide. An example of that would be like Cedric Pay Revenue. Apparently he did Disco Elysium. So you recognized him as the guy who did Disco Elysium, and like, oh, I love his art because I saw it somewhere else. But he's a very good artist by himself. So what happens is, it was like you're saying, there's synergy that prompts you up as being a good artist, or there is just you have a lot of clients, therefore you're out there. But to be honest, most of like why art can be so, like an art piece can go for millions, and it's basically just a red, imagine this a painting that is a red dot in the middle of a white canvas, and you can say something like, this represents the vicissitude of man and it's worth 8 million. And that's the sort, and that exists a lot in the world of art, which is basically just money laundering via art. That art is the first NFT. Art was the first NFT, where people just try and make bullshit excuses to have a reason to put a lot of money onto a property, like, and have that net worth maintained on that property. So basically, if you have $1 million, but you don't want to start in a bank, or you don't want to, or that you just want to launder the money, like million drug money, you buy art, because the art will retain its value. Even in fact, it will probably increase in value. So it's a good trade for investment. So that's where art gets really weird, and it loses its artistic meaning, its artistic value. And it's the same thing with football players, I suppose. Sometimes there's the shades are so shady.
I never even thought that maybe the exorbitant prices for art are just money laundering. Why does no one ever mention that?
Oh, they do.
I've been living in a bubble. I've never heard this.
No, it happens quite often with I'm not gonna say not just like drug cartels, but a lot of rich people love buying art. Like there's a reason why rich people immediately go into this I'm missing all the words in English. Make these they buy these ateliers where
what the fuck is that?
It's basically an art shop, like their own private museum, right?
Yeah.
And they make their own private museum because A, people will pay to go see it, so they get money back, and B, because if you spent $1 million on a painting, the painting is still worth $1 million. Therefore, you're just putting it, you're just getting rid of like dirty money to have something that is as valuable, or will be more valuable with time, and you just put it on display. Like, it's genius. Art can be seen as a currency, and that happens a lot in Russian oligarchs, in a lot of art dealings, the art world, etc.
I still don't quite follow money laundering, but I thought like what happens is, okay, let's say Sev is a drug dealing mob lord, okay?
Exactly.
And he got a lot of money from drugs, and now he wants to
make that money usable. Yeah.
So what he does is he sets up a studio under my name, Jay, and Jay has a studio.
I don't even need to set up the studio. I just need to buy art.
No, but that's what I think. This is my understanding of money laundering. Maybe that's why I don't understand how you make. Because if you buy art, you need to prove where your funds came from. So that's where money laundering comes in. What you want to do is, so you set up a thing under my name, right? And then, is that how it works? I have no idea.
It can be, but I think art is kind of like a cheat code for it, because sometimes you make like a shell company or whatever and have that company not be associated with you. It's in someone else's name, but it's basically yours, and use that company to buy something that you own, and therefore the money that you're
Right.
yeah. But
You want
however,
to be your own thing by paying taxes on it, something like that.
yeah, pretty much. And but the art kind of works the same way, where you can just give money to the artist, and you're paying it, and you're getting art in return. Of course, probably, yeah, you probably need to have like some sort of shell company to do the purchases, but it is pretty much. It is basically what I'm trying to say is sometimes with art, drug dealers and all that sort of thing, they have a lot of money and they can't just spend 8 million on a new car, because the IRS will look into that. Like, why did you waste 8 million on a car? That seems a bit weird. That activates.
No, where did you get the money from? That's the question.
No, they might actually just wonder, like, that seems like an overinvestment. That happens a lot when, like, what happens is, and this happened, I saw a lot in Malta, where you spend a lot of money to buy a mansion. I'm going to build a mansion in Malta. But then there's only one guy working there a day instead of a whole team of construction workers. Then the materials are super cheap. But then if you look at the revenue, it says, oh, you spent 8 million on this mansion, but I only see like $50 worth of material here. How do you explain that? The IRS will look into it. Whereas art, if you say, I bought this painting because I think it is worth 8 million, IRS is like, well, if you say so. I guess it's subjective.
Well, I would like to understand more of this to make an argument here. I know, like, I was trying to understand how it works in Portugal, and I know there's they call it, what do they call it? It's like manifestation of fortune is what they call it, something like that. And wait, let me just Google it. So I think, like, if you buy a real estate in a value in excess of, I think it's like 250,000 or 500,000 or something, then it's 250,000. If you buy property in excess of 250,000, they're going to look into your accounting, and if it's wrong, then you're going to have a problem. So that's like, if you use dirty money to buy a property with that value, you're going to get caught. So I don't know how it works for other things, but it has, for example, in Portugal again, cars. So like I don't know what you call them in English, the normal cars, normal size cars, if it's over 50,000 euro, or motorcycles with over 10,000 euro, they're going to look into it or something. Boats in over 25,000, and all this bullshit. So they have specific criteria under which they will check to see if if there's any money laundering or stuff like that, or if there is any money you have that you didn't declare, and then they're gonna slam on you. Why are we talking about this?
Because art as a money laundering scheme, basically.
Right. So exactly. So if you were to buy a piece of art that is worth a lot of money, I don't know, like at which point they would investigate you, but I'm sure they still would. But the money laundering part is when you sell art and you buy it yourself, and then you pay taxes on it. I think that's how money laundering works. Like, I have 5 million euro. I want to launder it. So I set up a fake company that sells this sewer horror, and then I myself buy it, but then the seller will pay taxes on it, which is you, because I set up a company in your name, and I get the money back through indirect channels. And I think that's how money laundering works. And now I pay taxes on that money by circulating it through my own channels, right? I got it back to myself.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't quite understand how buying a piece of art allows you to launder money. What you can do is, like, if you buy a piece of art, let's say for 50 euro, I buy this piece you just made today for 50 euro, and then later I sell it for, I don't know, 3 million. That's a way to kind of, well, I don't know if that's laundering money. It's a way to prove that you earned money from a certain source, and you can declare it as tax. You pay taxes on it. Anyway,
pretty much, I don't know.
How do we get?
We're talking about the value of money and the value of art.
By the way,
guys.
By the way, guys, if you want to launder your money, Sev is open for business. Okay, guys, just so you know, if you want, he'll make some art. He has a lot of horrors.
Well, not yet, but I will. Yeah, exactly.
In the works. Yeah.
And I think this is the time where we're going to start thinking about calling it quits. I'm having a hard time with a pupil. I don't think I know how to draw pupils, to be honest. Eyes are weird, man.
How about you imagine a tiny person who's a student, and you draw that instead, and you call that a pupil? And this is the master. Would that work? A pupil instead of a pupil? Is this too far-fetched? Is it too messed up? Okay, guys. What? How do we do the outro again?
I never know, man. Who knows?
Dude, I can't do it without the piece of info in front of me.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
so bad at it. I'm so.
It was like, thank you for watching or listening.
No, which way do we start with? Do we start with the names, or I'm gonna check it out? Wait,
I don't think we start with the names. I think we start with the plugs.
By the way, I don't know. You thought these podcasts, these recordings have been very willy-nilly, but we actually prepared a lot of stuff to do this. I don't know, it would be interesting to have a podcast about the work that's put into this, or was put the work before the podcast even began, right? Because it took us like a year to
pretty
set it
much.
up. We talked about this to an extent, but we never showed it.
I was something that it would probably not meant to be online, but I'm going to do it anyway. My brother wants to be on the next podcast, who is a former artist. He's not a professional
That's an interesting
artist,
conversation.
but he is. Well, I guess he hasn't drawn in a million years, but he used to be a really, really good artist. And I think we have conversations that we can have because I've did it before on Twitch, but there is a series of comic books called Black Sad, which is it's a beautifully drawn comic book by a dude, I don't remember the name, but it's about this cat detective. It's a black and white cat detective, and it's very noir, and it's kind of actually pretty mature considering it's furry. It's like Zootopia meets Sin City, and it's a gorgeous comic book. And the funny thing is, the reason why me and my brother know about this comic book is because he, like back in the 90s, he made art that is an exact copy of this comic book before this comic book existed. So
they
basically,
made a copy of his art.
Basically, he made a black and white cat with a trench coat who was a cat detective, basically. And he was pretty good at it. And the style, I kid you not, is fucking uncanny. Like, then we found this comic book and it's exactly the same fucking concept. Black and white. No, I don't think they plagiarized them. I really doubt that they plagiarized them. I'm not exactly sure who came first, to be honest, because
just great minds think alike. This has happened in science. There are people who do the same kind of studies in different countries, completely unrelated. They don't even know about each other. This has been recorded. Anyway, but it would be an interesting conversation, at least for me, to know. Like you say, he was an artist, so there's a conversation there. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I'll definitely the next time we do the recording, we'll probably have my brother around to give me some of his brotherly insights.
Okay, and also some people have been like, "Oh, Jay, you gotta get a webcam." And okay, there's been one person badgering me about it. Okay, maybe I should, but come on, how often am I gonna use it? It's like once every 2 months. And the
every
problem is,
single podcast.
The problem is, this is my personality. Like, if I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna research it, and I just don't want to spend time looking at webcams right now. Like, if you have a webcam that's like, this is good, this works, and I don't even know, I need to know, how do I connect it? Do I need the USB? Is there any other options? What do I want? And like, what resolution do I want? Oh, well, I want 180p. I know that. And all these questions, I need to research this. I just don't want to do this. I don't mind buying a webcam. I just don't want to do all the work associated with it.
Just stop.
What do you mean? I'm serious.
I know you are, but that is neurotic. You know that voice we're talking about when we get anxious or anxiety and say, okay, you need to snap out of this. I'm being that voice now. Is it Jay? Okay. Just buy a fucking $5 webcam. It's
$5 webcam? No way. I'm not doing that. But anyway, I am Jay.
I'm Sev.
Artistry Podcast.
Signing off.